You make $80,000 a year. So why does your bank account feel like you're barely holding on? Here's the uncomfortable part. At 80K, you're not supposed to feel stressed anymore. You're not minimum wage. You're not broke. You've made it, at least on paper. And yet, you still hesitate before booking flights. You still check your balance before dinner. You still feel that quiet panic when rent hits. That's not random. There's a hidden $22,000 gap sitting between what you earn and what you actually experience. And no, it's not just taxes. It's not just inflation. It's something deeper. You're stuck in what I call the almost rich zone. It's the most dangerous income bracket in modern life because from the outside, you look fine, but internally, you feel behind. And to understand why that feeling won't go away, we need to talk about the trap nobody warns you about. At $40,000 a year, the goal is obvious. Survive, pay rent, keep the lights on. At $150,000, the goal is clearer. Invest, scale, build wealth. But $80,000? That's the gray zone. You make too much to blame the system, but not enough to feel secure. You're expected to be comfortable, independent, stable. Here's the thing. Society quietly upgrades your identity the second your income crosses that line. You're not getting started anymore. You're a professional. You should have your life together. Nicer apartment, better clothes, better vacations, maybe even helping family, maybe thinking about a house. And this is where it gets subtle. No one forces you to spend more, but your environment shifts, your friend group shifts, your standards shift. You stop comparing yourself to people making 40K. Now you compare yourself to people making 120K. So even though your income doubled from where you started, your reference point moved faster than your salary. That's the almost rich illusion. You earn enough to upgrade your lifestyle, but not enough to comfortably sustain the upgraded version long term. And the real damage isn't what you consciously spend, it's the automatic expectations that come with earning 80K. Now wait, let's actually break down where that missing $22,000 goes, because the math is uglier than you think. Let's do the math. You make $80,000 a year. First, taxes, federal, state, payroll. Depending on where you live, you're realistically keeping around $58,000 to $62,000. Let's call it $60,000 to keep it simple. Already $20,000 is gone, quietly. Now, rent. In most cities, a decent one-bedroom is easily $1,800 a month. That's $21,600 a year. Not luxury, just normal. Groceries, $400 a month if you're careful, $4,800 a year. Car payment, insurance, gas, let's say $650 a month total. That's $7,800 a year. We haven't touched travel, we haven't touched weddings, we haven't touched random Amazon orders, birthdays, subscriptions, health expenses. We're already past $34,000 in basic living. Remember, you kept about $60,000 after taxes, so now you're down to roughly $26,000. This is where it gets ugly, because that remaining $26,000 is supposed to fund your future. Investments, emergency fund, retirement, down payment, unexpected disasters. But life doesn't stay basic. Friends plan trips, your laptop dies, you upgrade your wardrobe because your job requires it. You start eating out more because you're tired. It's not one big mistake, it's death by 1,000 reasonable decisions. And that $22,000 gap is the difference between the lifestyle your income suggests and the lifestyle your net cash flow can actually support. And this is where the real system glitch kicks in. Here's the system glitch nobody explains. Income changes fast, lifestyle expectations change instantly, but wealth builds painfully slow. When you start making 80K, your brain upgrades your identity overnight. You feel promoted in life. You feel like you've crossed into adulthood, and your spending quietly follows that new identity. Better gym, better apartment, better social circle, better version of you. Now wait, none of these upgrades are crazy. That's what makes this trap dangerous. They're reasonable, they're socially approved, they even feel responsible. But here's the catch. Every upgrade locks in fixed costs. Fixed costs reduce flexibility. Reduced flexibility increases stress. Stress makes you feel broke. You're not broke because you're irresponsible. You feel broke because your margin disappeared. Margin is the space between what you earn and what you're obligated to pay. And the moment that margin shrinks, even a good income feels tight. At 40K, you expect tight. At 80K, you expect relief. But relief never comes because your standards scaled at the same speed as your salary. This is why almost rich is more dangerous than actually broke. When you're broke, you know it. You adjust. When you're almost rich, you think something is wrong with you. And that feeling, that quiet, constant financial tension, is the real debt you're carrying. So why do you still feel broke? It's not just the math, it's psychological debt. You expected 80K to feel like freedom. Instead, it feels like responsibility, more expectations, more comparison, more pressure to act your income. Here's the thing, your expenses didn't just increase, your baseline shifted. You don't compare yourself to where you were 5 years ago. You compare yourself to the friend who just bought a house, the coworker who upgraded to a nicer building, the couple posting Europe posts. So even if you're saving something, it doesn't feel like enough. That gap between expectation and reality creates tension, and tension feels like being broke. You hesitate on purchases, not because you're poor, but because you know one mistake wipes out your margin. You avoid looking at investments because the number feels small relative to what you should have by now. You feel behind, even when you're statistically ahead. This is where it gets dangerous, because when people feel broke at 80K, they usually react in one of two ways. They either numb it with spending, or they chase a higher income, believing 100K will finally fix the feeling. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. If the identity doesn't change, the income won't either. So what actually fixes this? Not a budgeting app, not cutting coffee, not waiting for 100K. The shift is margin over image. Here's the thing, most people optimize for lifestyle first and hope wealth catches up later. The people who actually feel rich, they reverse it. They build margin aggressively. They live slightly below what their identity says they deserve, and that gap becomes power. Let's do the mental flip. Instead of asking what can someone making 80K afford, ask what would make 80K feel easy. That usually means lowering fixed costs, not obsessing over small expenses. Because freedom isn't about income, it's about optionality. Optionality is being able to quit, to say no, to take a break, to invest without panic. You were never crazy for feeling broke. You were sold the idea that income equals wealth. But income is speed, wealth is space. And until you protect the space, even 80K will feel tight. Close the $22,000 gap, not by earning more, but by refusing to upgrade your identity faster than you upgrade your balance sheet. And here's the part that stings a little. You don't actually want more money. You want the feeling you thought 80K would give you. Calm, breathing room, confidence when you check your bank app, the ability to stop thinking about money every single day. That feeling doesn't come from crossing a salary number. It comes from margin. It comes from knowing that if something breaks, you're fine. If your job gets shaky, you're fine. If an opportunity shows up, you can say yes. Right now, you're in the almost rich zone. On paper, you look successful. In reality, your obligations are eating the emotional reward. That's the $22,000 lie. Not that the money vanished, but that you were told this income would feel like a rival. It doesn't. Not if your lifestyle scales faster than your assets. So here's the real question. If you froze your lifestyle for 2 years, if you redirected the upgrades into ownership instead of optics, how different would 80K feel? Because the goal was never to look rich. The goal was to feel free. And freedom doesn't start at 100K. It starts the moment your expectations stop outrunning your margin.